everybody. Hi, this is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pal. I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network, Heart Network, and the Spanglish for World on channels 249, 250, and 251. Please remember to download Single TV app on the respective app stores. The app is totally free. You can find Single TV app on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV Stick, Roku Stick, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Today in the house, we have Coach Cloud. He is the Director of Athletics for Tahlequah High School, and he has 25 years of experience in education. So, welcome to the house, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so please share with our beautiful audience. We have audience from all over the world. So please share with us what is your role as the director of athletics in the high school?
Whew, that that could be a lot of different things. Most importantly, I feel like sometimes I'm the liaison between the teachers and the student, between the coaches and the student, the coaches and the parents and the student. I'm kind of the middle guy on all of it. I do a lot of scheduling, transportation, but I think the most important impact I have for our students every day is raising money. Um, whether that's through advertising, through marketing, through uh, streaming opportunities. The most important thing is to raise money for them to give them opportunities to have things they may not be able to afford or the school may not be able to afford to give us. I spend a lot of time on the phone raising funds for our kids and our school. But I do a lot of scheduling, obviously, a lot of meetings administratively and with a lot of calendar stuff. But I think every day, my biggest goal is to provide opportunities that kids wouldn't otherwise get anywhere else.
And we appreciate you for it.
Thank
'Cause I mean, Talca does a fantastic job keeping their students motivated and inspired to play sports. So, what inspires you to work with the youth?
you. My father sat in this chair, not this chair, but he was an athletic director for over 45 years. Um, I started out as an animal science. I had an animal science degree. I was not going to be a coach. I wasn't going to be a teacher. I wasn't going to be an athletic director. I played Division One baseball at Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, and I was in their animal science. I wanted to be a vet. That's what I wanted to do from the time I was 6 years old on. And I have an animal science degree. And I played my last baseball game, and I was getting ready to graduate that summer, and I called home and I said, I'm not ready to give this up. I like to be around athletics. I like to be around people, and which I would, I'd be around people as a vet. But then I thought, you know what? I don't want to do another 4 years of school. I want to make an impact now. I don't want to give up the game right yet. So I coached college baseball for 13 years. Um, I said there was two things I wouldn't do. I said I wouldn't coach high school. I wouldn't coach girls. I never wanted to be an AD, and I ended up doing all of it. And I love every minute. So never say never, I guess, is where I'm going with this. Um, but I think I see the impact that we have every single day with kids. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're the custodian, whether you're the lunch lady, we have an opportunity. And at Tahlequah, I think we have 1,250 opportunities to make a difference every day. That's about what our enrollment is. And there's not a day that I can remember that I didn't want to go to work, even if I didn't feel good, because I knew that somebody at that school was counting on me to be there. And I think that's what inspires me every day. It's important to invest because it sounds very cliche, but all of our kids are our future. We have some amazing kids that aren't even in athletics that are very, very high functioning, that are great in the band or great in the choir, great in the drama. Um, and they're going to go on to do great things. And I think that's what inspires me is to see that. And, in athletics, there's a lot of kids that need the program worse than the program needs them. athletically. And that's not, we say that all the time. Those are the kids that we got to be champions for. Sometimes they come from a single mother, or we've had several kids that have lived on their own as seniors. And I couldn't imagine being 17, 18 years old living on my own and still having the wherewithal to pass all my classes, get to all the workouts, and be a good citizen. And I think that's what inspires me the most, especially in Tahlequah. We have every socioeconomic challenge kid, um, from the highs to the lows, to the high functioning to the low functioning. And I think, to answer your question, that's what inspires me the most, is to be a champion for kids every day.
That's beautiful. What's the difference between coaching college and now being at the high school?
The biggest thing that I face from going to the college game to the high school game was the interaction with the parents. And that's a learning curve. It I changed as a coach, as an athletic director. Um, my whole mindset changed once I had my child, and I think you look at it differently. I don't think that's a bad thing. As a young coach, I started out when I was 22. You know, a lot of times, and I see it with some of our younger coaches, they think they know it all, but I learn something new every day, and I've done it 25 years. That's probably my best advice for anybody. Is if you think you know it all, you're in the wrong profession, because education changes every single school year, without a doubt. Um, so yeah, the biggest difference would be the interaction with parents on a daily basis. And I don't think that in college that you treat the children any different. And they're kids. I mean, they're 18 to
Yeah.
22 years old. They're still kids. And um, I think you can have a bigger impact. You can mold a kid more from the time they're in seventh grade to 12th grade than you can from freshman in college to a senior in college. Um, I will say that high school kids, especially our females, they will listen to you. College kids will question every move. Well, I saw it on YouTube that it was a little bit different. High school kids will take you at your word a lot of times, but you can't fake it. And either in college or high school, you got to know your stuff, or they're going to call you on the carpet. But that would be the biggest difference. Would be the interactions with parents, um, which is not a bad thing. But because that's everybody's baby. That's everybody's most valuable gift in this world is their kids, or it should be. Um, so that would be the biggest difference between college and high school.
Yeah. That's impressive. Like you going from college and then you're preparing them because you kind of know already what their mindset was at 22, and now you're dealing with younger brains
Yep.
and younger mindset. So, how do you measure success in athletics beyond the wins and the losses?
That's a great question. It really is. And that would be another difference from the college game to the high school game. In college, you get to pick your team. In high school, I've done my best job coaching when we didn't have a very good team. And people say, what do you mean by that? And what I mean by that is, in high school, you don't get to pick your team per se. The kids that go to the school are going to be on your team. And in college, you can recruit them from all over the United States. I had a very good contact in Venezuela. That I got a lot of Venezuelan kids. I got a lot of Dominican kids. I got a lot of Puerto Rican kids, and then I had a contact in Canada. So I got kids from all over, the North America, South America area, the Americas. But in the high school deal, the kids that live in your district are who you have, and that's what you've got to build your team from. And I tell our coaches every year we have a meeting in right before school starts, and state champions are great. The championships are great. There's no doubt. Winning seasons are great. But sometimes you do your best coaching job if you got a team that was not very good and you got them to 500. That's how I measure success. I also measure success on I do a lot of I go to practices and watch how the kids are interacting with the coach, or the structure of the practice, the respect that's mutual between the two. That's very, very important to me. And ultimately, again, state championships are great, we want to have productive citizens. Whether I don't think everybody needs to go to college. 20 years ago, it was dead set that everybody needed to go to college or you were going to be a failure. My nephew's 26 years old and he makes about three times my salary and he never went to college. Now he works his tail off, but what I'm saying is he was raised right and he was taught a work ethic. He was taught responsibility and accountability. And that's how I measure success, responsibility and accountability. Um, there's a million kids that are going to go out here and they graduate the next couple of years that'll make more money than I do, whether they're welding or doing air or plumbers, whatever. So I think our biggest thing to measure success is respect, accountability, and dependability. Um, and I think athletics teaches that, especially when you have practices over Christmas break or all summer. That is getting them accountable for the real world. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was thinking about that. It's like, yeah, some of the students do practice through even through summer when school's out, and
yeah,
then you have a very committed coaches. They're willing to, work through the summer to get them ready for the season.
right.
So,
And we're in
yeah,
a unique situation. Our coaches don't get paid. Now their stipend goes from August till July, but per se, a lot of other school districts they get paid if they come in the summer. Our guys have never questioned it, and they've always come in the summer. Our coaches um, and those guys are champions for kids. Not every parent likes every one of our coaches, but I promise you, for the amount of money they make, they love the kids, or they wouldn't do it. Um, I say it all the time. These guys got to love it. Our stipends for athletics, they're one of the best in the state. But if you put a paper to pencil or pencil to paper on what they make per hour coaching, you would think that they were insane to do that for the amount of hours they spend. But they do it because it's in their blood and that's what they love. Some people cowboy, some people pipeline, but these guys love kids and they love the athletic piece of it.
and one of the things I've noticed this year that whenever a student walks by the hallway and they see a coach, their beautiful faces just light up and they're like, hey, guess what? I'm lifting, 50 pounds more. Or
Right.
they're like, their facial expression is like, look what I'm doing now. It's like the trust. I couldn't explain to you, but I was like, oh wow. It's like I've learned this year that coaches play a huge role in the life of a student because they get to see their performance physically, they get to see their charisma, they get to spend time with them and they get to know each other versus I am a science teacher and they're probably thinking, oh, Miss Guthrie is judging me by my science knowledge. But they're way more than just what they know about algebra, what they know about biology. So it's like I was like, oh wow, like being a coach must be so awesome because kids get to interact at a different level.
They absolutely do. I think the impact that a coach has is unbelievable. And I don't think it takes our coaches a lot of years to realize that. Um, I know you visited with Greg Hall. Greg Hall and we talk a lot about, me and him I think he came 2 years to Tahlequah before I did. Um, and we talk about that. And I've seen so much growth in him as a person and the way he interacts and connects with people. And what a great guy, though. I've never seen Greg Hall not smiling. He could be mad, but I can get him to laugh or smile at the end of the day. So, but yes, what you're saying is 100% true. The impact that we have, it's hard for me to explain to these younger coaches that yes, every teacher's important. There's no doubt, but they're going to remember their coach forever. And you only have one chance to make that first impression. And we have hard coaches and we have coaches that make them accountable, but I think they gravitate to them, and especially we've got a lot of male athletes that come from a single mother home, and those guys take on a great role. Every one of our head coaches that's a male, I know they've spent a lot of their own money to make sure those kids have. I have, we all have, and they do it because they want those kids to succeed, and that impact, that level of trust. I don't know if that happens in any other industry where a child can trust an adult that much. and it's a very beautiful thing. It really is. My best as a coach, my greatest accomplishment is not wins and losses. It's if I get a baby announcement or a wedding invitation, and I go to every single wedding I get invited to from my former players, and that's important to me. And that means that I made an impact. If they think about me on their greatest day as a person with their wedding day, then that means that I did my job.
I was asking my students, I have about 100 and something students, and I was like, hey, who should I interview next? And they said the names that they gave me, they were coaches.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, what do you like about this coach? Well, why is he your favorite coach? And they're like, because they trust me. And that was their answer. There's trust. It's like how important that is. Like, what does it mean to you? And they're
Yeah.
like, well, sometimes it's like he said, okay, guys, I'm gonna trust you, and we're gonna do this project together. And to me, it was like, oh wow, it's like trust. Because in the science building is like we have to keep an eye on them
Right. Right.
at all times, to keep them engaged. Like we're always redirecting them to keep them engaged. But it comes, sometimes I guess we might micromanage them maybe too much. That's what I learned from this conversation. But they enjoy that trust
Right.
from their coach, and I was like, oh wow, how beautiful that is, and they will remember that, and you can see their smiles when they're talking about their coaches. But I was gonna, yeah, bring this awareness to our parents, because I didn't know, to be honest. It's like I didn't know how important an athletic coach is to our students until like this year that I witnessed it. And,
Yes.
and it's beautiful. And I want to honor them, because they do play a big role, like we're talking about, in the life of all students.
And those kids, in most, if you're a good coach, you're a good teacher. I think it goes hand in hand. And I can go down through the list of our guys that are strong teachers. They're good coaches, and I think that goes hand in hand with all students and with that trust level. Um, Kids share with us things that they would never think about telling their algebra teacher. And how do I work through this problem? Whether it's a relationship problem, whether it's a problem with mom, or coach, I missed a workout because my phone was taken away. And they try to mentor them like, well, why was your phone taken away? Well, I made a bad decision. And um, so these guys, I mean, they wear a lot of hats. They're teachers, they're coaches, they're counselors, and I think that it goes so much further than the regular school day. Um, and those guys, the way I operate as an athletic director, those guys know that I would never micromanage them. I don't tell them who to play, how to do their job, any of that. I help them, and we have a very open door, and we try to extend that to our kids. Like, this is an open door policy. If you make a mistake, own your mistake, but be upfront with it. That's part of that responsible, accountable, dependable. We have kids that make bad decisions, and that they're penalized for it, but we don't hold it against them. And I think that's what builds their trust. Um, I had a kid several years ago who had some mental health stuff. And I remember this like it was yesterday. He called me on Christmas Eve, and he was having a little episode. And um, very humble in what I do. I'm not bragging here. I'm just saying how think I had an impact on him. He called me on Christmas Eve, and we sat in the Walmart parking lot in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, for 3 hours, and we just talked. We talked through the problems, and I still talk to that kid. Maybe he's in the service now, but I talk to him once a month, and there's a million stories like that from all of our guys who have been called at midnight, 1 in the morning, Sunday night. So the trust is huge for me, and the open door policy is huge for me. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to judge you. It's not my job to judge you. And I tell our coaches, we don't judge our kids, and we don't hold it against them who their folks are or how mad their parents are at you, because the kid didn't ask for that. So Um, that's the culture we're trying to define here.
That's beautiful. And sometimes whenever their academics are low, like if they have a low grade in algebra, they have a low grade on science, then it's the coach that says, hey, they advise them, you need to improve your grade. So athletics sometimes is a motivation for them to
Yes.
bump their grade up, to turn in the homework, to make sure that they do well on a test. So
Absolutely. All extracurriculars is a motivation. I think it's important for all 1,250 of our kids to be involved in something, whether it's esports or Spanish club or art club or science, whatever it is, debate team, speech, academic team. I think it's very important for them to be accountable. Um, we have a lot of kids that don't do anything in extracurricular, and it makes me sad because high school should be the best time of your life. No worries of bills and mortgages and cell phone and children. And um, these kids tell me they're so stressed out. And I said, you don't even know stress, So I think I feel sorry for those kids because they're not involved in anything. Um, and I think even our coaches that know that maybe he's not a very good athlete or he doesn't like sports, they recognize the importance of being part of something. And that's what I was saying. Sometimes the kid needs the program worse than the program needs the kid. I think every child is good at something, and I think as coaches, teachers, educators, administrators, it's our job to find that what they're good at, and give them the opportunities to be good at something. So,
yes, thank you. uh, what are some of the challenges that you think our youth is facing at this time?
you know, they change. Before COVID, that would be hard to answer. Since COVID, those kids were so withdrawn through COVID. Um, they missed a lot of opportunities, and I don't think kids only know what they're shown. They don't know everything, and when COVID first started, none of us knew what was going on. I think the biggest challenge is getting them when we were in and out of school, and then there was quarantines, and the biggest challenge I think we face is kids getting back to normal. Um, you know, whether it's attendance policy, because I think it's important to be at school. I think it's important for employees to come to work. I think that's huge. You're getting paid to do a job. You need to be here. Obviously, you can't help it if you have the flu or strep throat or whatever. But I think we had to get so lax on our attendance and our discipline through attendance that now when we're trying to, we took a step back of accountability. Um, but I think that the pressures of when I was in high school, there was no social media. Um, I talked to one of our most gifted athletes to come through here. I'm getting ready to start my 15th year at Tahlequah, and he's probably in the top 5 of the most gifted athletes that we've had. And I had a good conversation. He was down, and we were talking, and um, he got in a little bit of trouble at school. And he said, "I don't want to play anymore." I said, "Why would you want to do that?" And his first response was, "I saw on Twitter that I wasn't ranked in the nation." I said, "How would you know that? Why don't you just be the best person you can be?" They have pressures that I never thought of social media. I think that pressure of being able to post that I'm going to OU or I'm going to Florida State, that is so important to those kids to be liked. I think peer pressure that I knew as an 18-year-old doesn't even touch the peer pressure the kids face today. And that's sad. And I think that is why we do have to do so much mental health counseling, because they see it in terms of likes on social media. That's hard. That's hard to face. I've got an 11-year-old. She doesn't have social media, but I know that her friends do. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, you don't need to You don't need to prove to anybody who you are. You're 11, you know. So um, I hate that for our kids. That image that they have to, be a kid and have fun. And like I said earlier, this is the greatest time of your life, and you're worried about things that aren't going to matter 3 years from now. Um, that's another thing that I think is tough on kids right now. But I would not want to be a 16, 17, or 18-year-old in 2023. I just think the pressures they have are just so different than anything that I could imagine.
Yeah. I think as a parent, we have to level up our parenting skills and bring that awareness, that comparison. Our brain compares to keep us alive. It's a survival mechanism. That's just, I'm a brain health sciences. Like, I love about brain health. So like I do it so that I can parent my kids and tell
Sure.
them, like, your brain's always comparing. It's just meant to keep you alive, but in reality you have to know, who you are, and what do you want out of life. So, but yeah, I get it. It was like social pressure, the social media, what they see on the internet. We didn't have access to that.
Correct.
We had magazines back then.
Yep.
Oh, but yeah. So, how do you think the community can help in the growth? Help our youth to be good citizens.
The biggest thing that I think that I see, and I don't say it's lacking, I say it could get better, my house included. I think it starts at home. Um, Sometimes I hear the way that kids talk to their parents. I'm 48 years old, and if I talk to my parents the way some of their kids do, my dad would slap me today, and I think it starts at home. It's how they're raised. Um, I think I think that is the biggest step. Community awareness of, and which is part of my job, is get to the community to see what we're doing, and that's my marketing piece. Um, Tahlequah is a great community for helping, whether it's the homeless through or Cherokee Nation. There's a lot of different programs, but if they don't know, they can't help us. So I think we've got to promote ourselves better. Um, I think it starts at home. I think that the parents need to be more involved in their children's day to day activity. I said it earlier. The parents need to push their kids into something extracurricular. Um, and ultimately, we have to do, how should I say this? We're only as strong as our customers, and our students are our customers. Um, and I think that starts in the early ages. I think our elementary schools do a great job of preparing them for middle school, and the middle school does a good job for high school. And now once they get in high school, they kind of know their path, or they think they know their path. But I think if we got more community involvement in a parent night, as silly as that sounds, because we have a lot of resources and a lot of grant funded trainings that we don't get a lot of participation in. Um, and I know everybody's busy, but I don't miss any of my child's stuff, anything, And she's like, I don't want to go. I don't want you to go to that. Well, I want to be involved because I want to know what's going on, and I think that helps. And if you got 1,250 parents to be involved in the high school, and 700 at the middle school, how strong would your school be when everybody was pulling on the same rope, the same direction? And I think that's the biggest thing as administrators is we got to get everybody pulling the same way, from top to bottom. We all have to be on the same page. And I'm big on, you treat the custodian how you treat the superintendent. And that's important. And our kids need to see that. And I think if our communities, if our own people see it here, then the community sees it. Man, they're doing some really good things at Tahlequah. I want to get involved in that, which selfishly that helps me trying to raise money. They're like, man, you guys are doing some good things. So it's all intertwined, but I think it starts at home. To answer the question,
Yeah.
is be involved in your child's future.
And you're not the first one, the first leader in the community that shares this. Like somehow I have a student in the high school.
Mhm.
He's going to be a senior next year. So as a parent, I think we get lost in, oh, he's about to go home. We have to prepare psychologically that he's about to leave. I need to learn to let go. I need to learn to help him be independent. So I think we maybe give two steps back instead of just half a step.
Right.
And we're still, their brains still develop until, if it's a boy, till they're 28, if it's a girl, till they're 25.
Right.
So we still have to, and I'm guilty, like you said, at home happens as well here at home. So trying to find them the middle ground where I'm no telling him what to do, but at the same time make sure that I am involved in
Sure.
his academic, until I know he's prepared for life. But I think as a parent, maybe something happens, because that happened to me last year, thinking, oh my gosh, he's about to graduate, he's about to become an adult. And I went through that stage, but I'm like, no, no, no. It's like I still have to make sure that the steps that he does are solid.
Right.
And one of them is being more involved. Like we invite all the community, wherever you're at around the world, let's be more involved in our children's academic in their life, because even though we might think that we need to prepare them for life, we still have to be right there to make sure that their steps are solid. So
Absolutely.
thank you for bringing this awareness, because as a parent, we need it. Like you said, we're busy too, trying to keep up with the bills, trying to keep up with life, trying to keep up with, oh, did I meet my dreams? I'm almost 40. What have I done? We all go through all these psychological questions, and we still have to continue to carry our beautiful family.
Sure.
What has been the most challenging experience as an athletic director?
Most challenging. I will say every day here is different. Um, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what we have 17 sports at Tahlequah, and that's boys and girls. Um, we have 660 athletes, grade 7 through 12. So we have that many opportunities to get it right or get it wrong. And the most challenging thing I walk into every morning is not knowing what the next phone call will bring. In a lot of industries, you know what your problems are, you know what you have to fix. Ours are evolving, especially in the spring and even in the fall. We'll have softball and golf and tennis. They're all going out on the road. Um, a lot of times my day starts at 7:30, and I will get home at 10 o'clock at night. And but then we got kids on the road, and we've had buses break down. Um, I've had to come back to the school, get a bus, and go pick them up, and sit with the other bus till the tow truck got there. So you never know what the day's going to bring, and I think that's the most challenging. I'm very, very regimented, and but that's the hardest part for me is not knowing what the next phone call will bring, whether it's good, bad, bus broke down. A student got injured or an athlete got injured at a game. Um, that is probably the most challenging. Um, the hardest thing for me, and I went back. I'll go back to the raising the money. This town is very, very giving town for funding and writing checks to us. But what people don't understand is we've got Tahlequah, we've got Keys, we've got Sequoia, we've got the university, you've got Holbrook close, and you've got all these K through 8s. And Tahlequah is the county seat of the county, and where most of the businesses are. And these local businesses sometimes hate to see us walk through the door because they know we're going to ask for more money. And when I was coaching softball here, there was a business that was downtown, and they're no longer here. And that's awful that they're not here. But I walked in, and the lady knew what I was after. She started crying, and I grabbed her hand. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "You're going to ask me for money." And I said, yes, I was. And she said, you're the third person from a school that came and asked me money today. And we want to help, but we can't afford to. And I said, not a problem. And I shook her hand, and I went back there and I bought my wife something just because I wanted to support that business. And so that's a challenge. We are a small community. We want to shop local. We want to do those things, but we can't nickel and dime and bleed them to death because they've got to survive. Um, and if a small business goes out of town, sometimes they leave town. We lose that opportunity to change that kid's future. So it's a balancing act in this town of, yes, we have great community support, and yes, we try to do a lot of things local through the school districts, but we can't bleed the small business to death. And that's a challenge because we're playing in Tahlequah, we're playing schools that are in an urban area, and they did have a different market as far as raising money. So that would probably be my other challenge, is the market that I have to raise money in. Um, and I get it. It's hard to sell advertising to a business that's not in Tahlequah, but some of these businesses can't afford to do that. And so how do you make it work? And um, that's where it goes back to the parents' involvement. And we rely on our parents to do a lot of the legwork to raise money for us. But raising money and not knowing what to expect each day is probably my biggest two challenges. But I will say I enjoy coming to work every day.
Thank you. Thank you for putting up with the challenge because those beautiful students I know that enjoy athletics and they get to experience what sometimes parents cannot give to them. You cannot give the experience. I know your coaches try to do the best that they can sometimes to take them out to eat at a nice restaurant after a ball game. Sometimes like they wear, nice uniforms, and it's all because you guys work together.
Sure.
And yeah, let's, as a parents, let's all be a little bit more involved in our kids' education as much as we can, of course. What has been your most rewarding experience as athletic director?
Wow. Obviously I like seeing the kids. I love going to graduation and watching those kids walk across and go out into the world, so to speak. And because a lot of those kids, I've been here long enough now, I knew them when they were in seventh grade, and they were little guys or little girls, and now they're women and men, and or they think they are, and um, just to see the growth, as a person, academically, athletically, all of it, just to see the transformation of this little tiny kid to this big kid that has got it figured out, and that's probably my most rewarding. Obviously, wins and losses are great. Winning the big game is great. Winning in the playoffs is great. But at the end of the day, we fail those kids if we go back to what I said, if we don't make them accountable and dependable. So I think that's my most important thing. Yeah, it's funny, I've been here long enough that I've had multiple siblings that have come through the program, and um, it's neat to see them become parents. I've been here, 2009. I've got several of the kids that played for me that have families, and seeing them become mothers and fathers, and hoping, and I still hope that I had an impact that they'll remember. I used to have a saying that I would say to the girls every night when we got done playing or practicing. Um, I'd always say, "Bad decisions last a lifetime." And this one girl was a senior, and she had heard it for 3 or 4 years, and she said, "Coach, and good decisions last a lifetime." So every time I see her, her mom's actually an administrator in Tahlequah now. Every time I see her out, she said, "Good decisions last a lifetime," and we just laugh. So that's rewarding to me that that they thought about that. But yeah, it sometimes this is a very thankless job. There's a lot of behind the scenes, and that's I prefer being behind the scenes. I don't like to be in the newspaper. I don't like to be in the pictures. That's not important to me. Seeing people be productive is what is important to me.
What legacy would you like to leave behind?
Ooh. I think the biggest thing that I would like to leave behind is knowing that I came to work every single day and tried to make a difference. I didn't just try to get through the day. And I tell our coaches this all the time: if you're doing this for that stipend, go do it somewhere else, because I want you to leave your mark on, like I said, you have 1,250 opportunities to make a difference. And I think that I want them to know that I was tough, but I was fair. I held them accountable. Um, I think that's probably my biggest, is knowing that I cared about every person here, whether it was me and Michael Peters, the head of the PAC, the drama department. Me and him talk every day, and I care about his program because I think it's important. Um, I went to one of their plays a couple weeks ago, and that was really cool to see. There were some athletes there, and there were some kids that were just straight drama, and they were kids that I see walking the halls that never say a word, and they're up there singing and they're dancing, and I was like, Michael Peters made a difference right there, because that kid, never says a word. He's walking and he's out there dancing, and that's awesome. That's going to take that kid far in life, because he did have the responsibility to show up and learn his lines and that type of stuff. So I think that's a legacy deal. I think that's, if you can get kids out of their shell and out of everything's not roses and sunshine. If you can take them out of their comfortability and make it hard, like a public speaking class in college. I hated that, but it's the best thing in the world for me. I think those are legacy things.
Beautiful. And we appreciate your work, your hard work behind the scenes. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. How do you balance life? Like, I mean, your profession is a beautiful profession. It keeps you busy, like you said, sometimes at nighttime. And you have a beautiful wife. She's a leader in the community as well. And you also are a father. So how do you balance life?
Really tough. There's days. Um, my two busiest months are September and April. Um, there's a lot of times that I leave the house before they're up, and I get home when they're in bed. So I think the biggest balance. Um, Me and my wife have been married 25 years, and we know this is where both of us are supposed to be. And our relationship is strong enough where we don't have to be in constant communication with each other. Um, I know she's fulfilling her dream. I'm doing what I was destined to do with my father. But the balance is I see this going quicker every single year. My daughter Kylie didn't sign up for this. She didn't sign up to not see her mother or father. So I think it's very important when we are together that the sole focus is family. Um, I think it's very, very important. My sister moved back from Texas. She's the dean at the Muskogee campus of NSU, and they live out by us. And we try to do a lot of family time stuff when we can. Her husband's a coach and she's a dean, so she has a lot of night stuff. He has a lot of night stuff. Um, we make it work. I guess that's the best. There's a lot of juggling. There's a lot of nights. I remember this fall, my daughter plays travel softball, and a friend of ours took her to St. Louis. We had a football game. We left Tahlequah at 10:30 at night after the football game, and we got to St. Louis at 5:30 in the morning, and she had to be at the field at 7. So I got an hour and a half of sleep, and um, it we make it work. There's a lot of long nights and there's a lot of tired days, but again, it goes back to I always feel like somebody's counting on me and I can't let them down. So that's my biggest motivator to make it work. Um,
You choose to make it work. That's beautiful. Both of you choose to make it work. I mean, I think it's so important that she knows what she's meant to do. Same thing with you. You know, this is your purpose and you know it. And together they work as a team,
yep.
choosing to make it work. 25 years, it's hard to say nowadays, I think, finding how many, couples that last 25 years. So congratulations on
Thank
choosing to make it work.
you. Yep.
Uh,
We've lived in 7 states together. So, and now we met in Tahlequah, and hopefully we stay here forever. So,
awesome. Yeah, thank you. What advice would you say to a brand new athletic director who is about to start his adventure in this field?
my biggest thing is get a couple guys that have done this job and ask questions every single day. Um, I've got a group of guys. I had my father who had done it for several years, 40 plus years, 50 years. I think it was right at 50 years. Um, but get guys numbers that you trust and listen because I learn something every week. People call me, I call them, hey, how do you do this, how do you do this? And once you think you know it all, you're just beginning because it changes, like I said, education changes every year, and so does athletics and rules. And so the biggest advice is listen. You got to listen and you got to be able to communicate. Probably the last thing that I would say is it's okay to be wrong. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to win every conversation. It's okay to be wrong, especially when you got people's most precious gift. You got their kids, and that's the most important thing to them. When they call and they're mad, you need to listen, and you need to tell the truth. Um, it's easy to tell people what they want to hear, but you need to tell the truth. And if you can tell the truth every single time and not sugarcoat it, you're going to be okay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. One of the questions, I mean, we only have like 1 minute left, but
Okay.
one of the questions that I got is like, well, please ask, how do you keep the students safe? If you just can just briefly share with us, how do you keep, I mean, now like in Oklahoma, I think, thank goodness we have a good team, but I know Texas and other states, parents worry when they send their child to school.
I think we have a great system with our SROs. We're lucky in this district to have 7 SROs that are dedicated to us. They have I have constant communication with those guys. Um, we have somebody dedicated to every athletic event, which I think is very important. Um, and we're locked a lot. We have a lot of doors that are locked, and people don't like that, but that's for their own safety, and because you never know who's got a weapon or whatever. But I think again, it goes back to communication and respect for one another. With our SROs, we have an open door policy. I talk to our SROs daily. But yeah, we've got this event going on here, and we've got this event going on at the TMAC, and who's going to be there, and who can I call, and um, I've never not felt safe coming here. And we've had some big crowds and we've hosted some regionals and some playoff stuff with those guys' hard work and their training and our training that we get in professional development. I'm a big proponent of when I'm at an event, I check all the gates. And I constantly, in the wintertime when they're playing basketball and we're in here all day, I go and check. I go outside and make sure the doors are not unlocked or a rock's put in them. And because again, a lot of times my child is here and I want her to be safe too.
Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your experience. We want to celebrate everybody in education because they bring so many inspiration to our children, and we just want to say thank you.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate that too.
Well, we'll have you back whenever you have time.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this show can also be heard on my YouTube channel if you want to, Paola Guthrie, if you want to share this content. But you can also find it on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Blessings to you all, and we'll see you soon.